Jack and Tu Tien wish you all a beautiful and peaceful day. In today's video, we'll follow Jack and Tu Tien as they say goodbye to the countryside and return to the busy city life. But what heartbreaking moment made Jack silently hold back tears while Mother Ly stood alone, watching their car disappear down the village road? Stay with us until the very end to experience this emotional journey filled with love, family, and unforgettable memories. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next emotional stories and adventures together. Mother Ly had been awake since dawn. She moved slowly around the kitchen, preparing food for Jack and Tu Tien to bring back to the city. On the wooden table were neatly packed vegetables, homemade pickles, fresh herbs, and several small bags of dried snacks she had carefully prepared herself. "Mom, why did you wake up this early?" Jack asked softly as he walked into the kitchen rubbing his eyes. Mother Ly smiled while tying another small bag tightly with a rubber band. "If I don't prepare these things for you, who will?" she replied gently. Jack looked at the table helplessly. "Mom, this is too much. We can buy everything in the city." "That's different," Mother Ly answered immediately. "Food from home is healthier." A few seconds later, Tu Tien walked in quietly, still wearing a loose sweater while fixing her hair. The moment she saw the table full of countryside food, her eyes widened. "Oh my goodness! Mom prepared all of this." Mother Ly laughed warmly. "You two are busy in the city. At least bring some clean vegetables home." Tu Tien slowly walked closer and touched the fresh herbs carefully. "They smell so good," she whispered. Jack leaned against the wall while watching both women talk together peacefully. Somehow, moments like this made the small countryside house feel warmer than ever. Outside, sunlight slowly spread across the narrow village roads. After breakfast, Jack and Tu Tien decided to take one final walk around the neighborhood before leaving for the city. The village was still calm and quiet. Small groups of neighbors sat outside drinking tea, while morning market sounds echoed faintly from the distance. As the two walked side by side beneath rows of coconut trees, Tu Tien suddenly slowed her steps. "I really don't want to leave yet," she admitted softly. Jack glanced toward her with a small smile. "You already fell in love with countryside life?" She nodded honestly. "It feels peaceful here. People smile more. Everything moves slower." Jack looked ahead quietly. "When I was younger, I used to think this place was too small," he confessed. "I always dreamed about leaving for the city." "And now?" Jack let out a quiet breath. "Now sometimes I just want to come back and stay longer." Tu Tien looked around at the old houses, gardens, and small dirt roads. "I understand why your mom misses this place so much." Jack nodded slowly. She spent almost her entire life here. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The peaceful sound of birds and rustling leaves filled the silence naturally. Eventually, Tu Tien turned toward him again. "Do you ever think about bringing your mom to live with you permanently in the city?" Jack's expression softened immediately. "All the time." "Then why haven't you?" He smiled weakly. "She says she can't leave the countryside behind. All her memories are here." Tu Tien nodded slowly, as if she finally understood. Some people carried their entire lives inside a single hometown. As they continued walking deeper into the village, several neighbors smiled and waved again after one older woman laughed loudly from her front yard. "You're leaving already?" Jack smiled politely. "Yes, Auntie. We have work tomorrow." So fast? The woman sighed dramatically before turning toward Tu Tien. Next time you come back, maybe you'll already be married. Tu Tien instantly lowered her head while laughing shyly. Jack groaned playfully. Why is everyone in this village obsessed with weddings? Because we're waiting for good news, the woman shouted back proudly. The two continued walking while laughing together. A little later, they arrived near the small bridge at the edge of the village. Beneath it, clear water flowed slowly while sunlight reflected softly across the surface. Tu Tien leaned against the wooden railing quietly. "This place is beautiful," she whispered. Jack stood beside her. "When I was a kid, I used to sit here alone after getting scolded by Mom." Tu Tien laughed softly. "You got scolded often?" "Very often." "For what?" Jack pretended to think seriously. "Climbing trees, skipping naps, running through cornfields, coming home dirty every day." "That sounds exactly like you," she replied immediately. Jack laughed loudly. For the first time in a long while, his expression looked completely relaxed. No pressure, no cameras, no expectations. Just the peaceful feeling of being home. After leaving the bridge area, Jack suddenly pointed toward the village market further ahead. "Come on," he said. "Before leaving, I want to show you the countryside market." Tu Tien's eyes brightened instantly. "The one everyone talked about yesterday?" Jack nodded. "You'll love it." The small market sat beside an open field filled with vegetable gardens and fruit trees. Unlike the crowded city markets, this place felt simple and warm. Older women sat behind baskets of fresh vegetables while neighbors casually chatted with each other between customers. The moment Jack entered the market, several vendors immediately recognized him. "Jack came back! Look who finally remembers the village! You became handsome after moving to the city." Jack laughed helplessly while greeting everyone one by one. Tu Tien followed beside him while smiling at the friendly atmosphere around them. One elderly vendor handed her a small slice of fresh watermelon immediately. "Try this, dear." Tu Tien tasted it and widened her eyes. "It's so sweet." The woman smiled proudly. "Everything here is fresh from local farms." As they walked deeper into the market, Tu Tien suddenly stopped at a small stall selling seeds and gardening tools. There were tiny paper packages filled with vegetable seeds neatly arranged across the table. She picked one up curiously. "Jack, look at this." Jack walked over beside her. "These are vegetable seeds?" The old vendor nodded. "Yes, morning glory, lettuce, chili peppers, tomatoes. Everything grows easily." Tu Tien turned toward Jack excitedly. "We should try planting vegetables at home." Jack laughed in surprise. "You? Gardening? Why not?" Jack crossed his arms teasingly. "Because city people usually kill plants within 2 weeks." Tu Tien immediately hit his arm lightly. "I can learn." The old vendor laughed warmly while handing her several seed packets. "If you grow them with care, they'll grow beautifully." Jack suddenly became quieter while looking at the seeds. "You know," he said softly, "Mom used to grow vegetables herself when I was little." Tu Tien listened carefully. "Back then we couldn't buy much food, so she planted everything behind the house." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I should start growing vegetables too." "So you can become a farmer again?" Tu Tien teased. Jack shook his head with a small laugh. "No, so Mom can eat healthier whenever she visits." For a brief moment, Tu Tien simply looked at him silently. The longer she stayed in his hometown, the more she understood him. Behind the fame, the success, and the busy city life. Jack was still the same countryside boy who worried about his mother more than himself. After buying several packets of seeds and fresh vegetables, the two slowly walked back toward the house together beneath the warm afternoon sunlight. In the distance, smoke from cooking fires slowly rose above the rooftops, while peaceful village sounds filled the air once again. Neither of them realized it yet. But the hardest goodbye was still waiting ahead. By the time Jack and Tu Tien returned home from the market, the countryside afternoon had already become quieter and slower. Inside the yard, Mother Ly was carefully folding clothes and placing more homemade food into several bags near the front door. The moment she noticed the two returning, she immediately smiled. "You bought vegetables already?" Tu Tien happily raised the small seed packets. "And seeds, too!" Mother Ly looked surprised. "You're planning to grow vegetables?" Tu Tien nodded proudly. "Jack said he wants to grow clean vegetables for you." Mother Ly turned toward her son with visible surprise. "You? Farming again?" Jack laughed awkwardly. "Maybe just a little." Mother Ly shook her head while smiling warmly. "When you were younger, you hated watering plants." "That's not true," Jack protested immediately. Mother Ly laughed louder. "You used to complain every morning." Tu Tien couldn't stop laughing while watching the two argue playfully. For a moment, the atmosphere felt unbelievably normal. Not like celebrities, not like public figures. Just a small family spending time together before another difficult goodbye. As the afternoon slowly passed, the house became quieter. The closer it got to departure time, the more emotional the atmosphere slowly became. Jack quietly carried luggage toward the car parked outside, while Tu Tien helped Mother Ly organize the remaining food containers. "You really prepared too much," Tu Tien said softly. Mother Ly gently held her hand. "When you care about someone, you always worry they won't eat properly." Tu Tien suddenly became quiet. Those simple words somehow carried years of love and sacrifice inside them. Outside the house, Jack stood alone beside the car for a few seconds while staring quietly toward the distant fields. The warm wind moved softly through the trees around him. Memories slowly returned one after another, running barefoot through muddy roads, helping Mother Ly carry vegetables, studying late at night while listening to rain hitting the roof, leaving the countryside years ago with nothing but dreams and pressure on his shoulders. Everything suddenly felt both close and far away at the same time. Tu Tien eventually walked outside and noticed his expression immediately. "You okay?" she asked softly. Jack forced a small smile. "Yeah." But even she could hear the emotion hidden inside his voice. She stepped closer beside him quietly. "You're worried about your mom." Jack nodded slowly. "She always says she's fine, living alone here." He paused briefly. "But every time I leave, I still feel guilty." Tu Tien gently looked toward the small house behind them. "Your mom is stronger than you think." "I know." Jack lowered his eyes quietly. "That's what scares me sometimes." Tu Tien understood immediately. Strong parents often hid their loneliness the best. A little later, the three sat together for one final meal before leaving. The table was filled with simple countryside dishes once again. Fresh vegetables, soup, fried fish, rice still steaming from the pot. Nobody talked much at first. The closer goodbye became, the harder conversations suddenly felt. Eventually, Mother Ly broke the silence first. When you return to the city, don't skip meals because of work." Jack smiled weakly. "Yes, Mom. And don't sleep too late." "I know." Mother Ly then turned toward Tu Tien. "You have to remind him. He works too much." Tu Tien nodded obediently. "I will." Jack sighed dramatically. "So now both of you are teaming up against me?" Mother Ly laughed softly. "Someone has to take care of you." For a brief moment, the heavy atmosphere lightened again, but deep down, everyone knew time was running out. After dinner, the sun slowly began disappearing behind the distant trees. Orange light stretched across the fields, while birds returned toward their nests above the river. The peaceful countryside evening somehow made the goodbye feel even more emotional. Jack finished placing the last bags into the car before slowly walking back toward Mother Ly. "Mom," he said quietly. Mother Ly looked up immediately. "You should come stay with us in the city for a while next month." She smiled gently. "We'll see. You always say that." Mother Ly laughed softly without answering. Jack already knew her response. No matter how much she missed him, part of her heart would always remain tied to this village. The house, the neighbors, the gardens, the memories. Everything she loved was here. Tu Tien suddenly stepped forward and hugged Mother Ly tightly. "Thank you for taking care of us these past few days," she said softly. Mother Ly patted her back warmly. "You're always welcome here." Then she smiled gently before adding teasingly, "Next time, maybe come back as official family." Tu Tien instantly became shy again while Jack nearly choked beside them. "Mom!" Mother Ly burst into laughter. "Why are you embarrassed? The entire village already knows." Jack covered his face helplessly while Tu Tien laughed quietly beside him. Even during emotional moments, countryside families somehow always found ways to tease each other warmly. Eventually, it became time to leave. The atmosphere suddenly turned quieter than before. Jack opened the car door slowly before pausing one last time. Mother Ly stood near the gate beneath the fading sunset light, while the evening wind moved gently through her hair. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Jack simply looked at her silently. No matter how successful he became, no matter how far he traveled, in front of his mother, he still felt like the same young village boy from years ago. "Drive carefully," Mother Ly said softly. Jack nodded quietly. "You too. Don't work too hard." Mother Ly smiled warmly. "I'm old already. I only grow vegetables now." Jack laughed weakly, but his eyes had already started turning red. Tu Tien noticed immediately. Without saying anything, she gently held his hand. Sometimes comfort didn't need words. The car engine slowly started. As the vehicle began moving down the narrow countryside road, Mother Ly remained standing near the gate, watching silently. Jack looked back through the window without blinking. The small house gradually became smaller behind them. Then the gardens, then the bridge, then the familiar dirt roads. Everything slowly disappeared behind the evening light. Inside the car, silence quietly filled the space between them. Tu Tien continued holding Jack's hand gently while watching him carefully. "You'll come back again soon," she whispered softly. Jack stared ahead quietly for several seconds before answering. "Yeah," but his voice sounded heavy with emotion. Outside the window, endless rice fields stretched beneath the darkening sky while village smoke slowly rose into the evening air. Tu Tien leaned her head gently against the seat. These past few days helped me understand you more, she admitted quietly. Jack glanced toward her. In what way? She smiled softly. I finally understand why family means so much to you. Jack looked back toward the road ahead. When you grow up struggling beside someone, you never forget it. Tu Tien nodded slowly. Now she finally understood the invisible pressure Jack carried all these years. Everything he worked for, everything he sacrificed, everything he feared losing. It all began with one simple wish: to protect the people he loved. The car continued driving farther away from the countryside, while night slowly covered the peaceful village behind them. Far in the distance, the old bridge and flowing river quietly disappeared beneath the fading sunset. And somewhere behind them, Mother Loy was probably still standing there watching until the road became completely empty. Voice over. Home is not simply a place we return to. It is the place where someone is always waiting for us. The final image slowly faded out beneath the peaceful sound of flowing water, distant birds, and the quiet countryside evening sky. In this emotional final chapter of their countryside journey, Jack and Tu Tien prepare to leave the peaceful village and return to the busy city. Before departing, they spend one last morning walking through familiar roads, visiting the local market, and enjoying the simple beauty of rural life together. Tu Tien becomes even more connected to Jack's childhood memories after learning about the sacrifices Mother Loy made to raise him through difficult years. As they buy vegetable seeds and fresh food from the countryside market, Jack quietly reveals his dream of growing healthy vegetables for his mother someday. However, the most emotional moment comes during their heartbreaking goodbye, as Mother Loy silently watches their car disappear down the village road. Through this touching journey, Jack realizes that no matter how far life takes him, home will always be where his mother waits for him.